Hello to everyone tuning in to the WLPN LP airwaves. You are listening to La Mesita. My name is Tona.
And I'm Yola.
Today we have a special guest with us. Zacbe Pichardo is a performer, composer, and educator native to Mexico City. He is versatile in a variety of musical instruments including harp, accordion, guitar, and percussion. He was nominated for 2 Grammy Awards with the Sones de Mexico Ensemble and recently won 3 Chicago Music Awards with the same group.
Mr. Pichardo has performed in prestigious U.S. venues coast to coast, including Cambridge Hall, Getty Villa Museum, the House of Blues, the J. Pritzker Pavilion, the Symphony Center, the Harris Theater, and the White Sox Stadium, to name a few. He also has performed internationally in Europe, China, Japan, Taiwan, Mexico, and Cuba.
Hello, nice to see you again, Zacbe.
Nice seeing you again.
So how's your day going?
It's pretty relaxed. I was doing some things in the morning, but now I'm free, so I'm here with you guys.
When did you first draw inspiration to your career choice?
It was kind of one of those things that you don't really get to choose much. It kind of just chooses you. So I pretty much been in the music industry or in the circle of musicians. Even before I was born, because my dad is a musician as well, and he was in performing, touring, everything. And my mom, I was inside of my mom, and my mom was with him. All these things, so you can imagine. So I'm sure I heard all that music, all those stuff happening from in there, and then ever since then, it's always been music for me. So it was kind of like always part of my life.
So when did you start playing, and what was your first instrument?
Well, officially I started playing when I was around 5, and my first instrument was the bass drum.
What was the hardest thing for you? You started at a young age. What was the hardest thing for you as an artist?
I guess one of the things that happens when you're an artist is that you think differently than most people, and so then I guess you have things to deal with that maybe other people that don't have that artistry or like a way of thinking have to deal with in school or with other people. So I always had issues with with people not understanding where I was coming from or stuff like that. And I mean, other than that, I was just really playing. I just started playing orchestra when I was 5. So that was pretty much just like anything else that you guys do. You go to, I don't know, like dance or ballet or painting or whatever. You just do your classes, right? That's what I would do too. I would go to orchestra I think it was 3 or 4 days a week, and I would just go to class and we would rehearse, and then sometimes we would perform around Mexico. This all happened in Mexico City. And something that kind of kept happening was that the people that I got along with the best were the band members, in this case the orchestra members. So that's where my friends would be, that's where I would create lasting bonds. But outside of that, it was a little more difficult. So it was interesting, and that happened throughout. Like that still happens now. Like pretty much most of my friends are musicians, and for some reason it just stays like that.
That's really cool. Is there any instrument where you taught yourself to play it and you didn't really have to have your teacher?
Most of the instruments that I play, I've kind of figured them out. The thing that I learned in school was percussion, which came along with learning all the theory, all the learning how to read music, how to write music, how to understand what's in the paper, how everything works. That's what I learned from school. And then also, learned a little bit of technique with mainly with sticks, and how to play different things with sticks. And that's kind of been most of my life. Around, I don't know, I would say like around maybe 10 years ago, I started expanding my horizon with other instruments, even though percussion is like a whole universe of instruments, because percussion basically just means anything that you bang on, anything that vibrates when you hit it. So you can imagine how many percussion instruments there are, and they all have different techniques and different ways to play them. But I started to expand myself to other instruments that were not percussion. So I started learning the harp, the accordion, the guitars, different types of guitars, and then I started learning how to zapatear as well. So dance with, play music with your feet, basically. And all of those, I pretty much just learned them by myself. I was fortunate enough that sometimes some master from Mexico, some teacher from Mexico, well, some musician from Mexico really, would come to Chicago, and then they would give me like a private lesson for like an hour, and I would record them, and then I basically just practice with that recording and learn different things. So it's pretty much like, like going to YouTube and then just learning how to play something. But it takes dedication, it takes time, it takes patience, it takes a lot of effort to not just have to rely on somebody to tell you what to do, but you to figure out, how things work.
If you could perform for any artist, who would it be?
If anything, I would like to be able to be alive when Beethoven was alive, and to have been able to have some interaction with him. I don't know if like playing with him per se, but just having interaction and understanding and seeing how somebody like that behave and how they thought when they were alive, it would be very interesting, because all we really know about him is through his music. It would be interesting to see how those two things come together.
Do you have any other forms of art that you like taking, like hobbies?
Yeah, I like to take pictures, especially when I travel. I love to travel. That's like one of my new passions, to just go out there and explore the world. And when I go out there, we have a phone now with amazing cameras, everybody. So my phone comes back from my trips with like 1,000 pictures of each trip or something like that, because I just keep taking pictures of different things that I see and that I find interesting. Not necessarily, like big landmarks, but like some interesting thing that I've never seen before here in Chicago or in Mexico. And I thought it was interesting, so I took a picture of it. And I think I've been able to figure out how to take pictures of in a way that is more artistic, other than just like take a picture of a monument and that's it. It's more like, how do you take it? Like do you have everything straight, or you move it a little to the side, or like you go closer, or you focus on something else? So it make it more interesting, more artistic. So I think naturally I've done that. I haven't really pursued going to a photography class or buying myself a camera like a lot of people I know do. They buy this like super professional camera, and then they want to be photographers, but then it's a whole thing to learn how to use the camera. So I don't go to those extents. I just use my phone, but I think I use my phone in a more artistic way. And other than that, I like to grow plants, and I think that within itself is an art, because it's not just put the seed, put some soil and water. It has to do with a lot of different things, and like I have some plants around in my house that if I move into a different place of the house, the plant just starts dying, and then I move it back to some other place and it just starts flourishing everywhere. And this just has to do with, I believe, energy and how the energy flows around the house. And that to me is very, artistic, and you don't never know what's going to happen. Sometimes a plant dies and I'm like, what did I do wrong? But I didn't do anything wrong. It just kind of happened.
From all that time playing, what has been a most impactful and beautiful piece that you have performed? And what are some of the most memorable places that you have performed?
For me, playing traditional music from Mexico in general, I don't know if I have one specific song that I would say. Maybe Las Poblanas, which is from Veracruz. But more than that, it's being able to focus so much in the playing that you kind of forget everything else around you. You kind of just get into your own dimension. And music from Mexico, it's very easy to get into that trance with music from Mexico, because it's just like, for me, when I play the harp, I just start. Everything is improvised, so I'm like making it up as I'm going. So I'm just basically playing what I'm feeling. I don't really think about it too much, and so I lose myself. And so I think that's the most memorable experience I have with playing itself. And some songs, you can do that more with them. Mm-hmm. Like what I was saying, Las Poblanas is very like mystical, very interesting tonality. So it's easy to get into that trance with that song. But I've done it with many other ones. And then places that I played that were, I played in a lot of like big venues with thousands of people. But one of my favorite places to play at is at the beer garden in Navy Pier. Mm-hmm. Because it's interesting, because the performer has the best view in the whole area, instead of like the audience having the best view and then just being the performer being part of that. It's the opposite, because in my perspective, when I'm playing at the beer garden in Navy Pier, I get to play to the lake. So while I'm playing, I'm looking at this beautiful lake with the buildings inside. And especially when the sun is just a magical moment. And every time that I get to play there, I just got to play there like 2-3 weeks ago there. And it was, it never gets old, I guess. It's definitely better than many other places that I play that are fancy or have a big name.
Do you remember your first like official teacher? Because I know you said that you were surrounded by music when you grew up. Do you remember your first teacher? And if so, do you have like one thing that stuck about them?
The teacher that I actually always remember wasn't when I was, that young. I think it was later on when I was like around, I don't know, like 10 maybe. Or actually before. Wait. Around 10, I think. He was like my first official percussion teacher in a conservatory setting, which I was going to a conservatory in Mexico called Yollocalli, which is one of the most important conservatories in Mexico. And so he was the one in charge of percussion, and I think he was just a person that inspired me to express myself more than just focus on the notes. And he was teaching me classical music, but he was I think he performed like rock and all these other modern styles, and then he would tour around the world with his band. Many times he would come and tell me, one of these days I'm going to take you to New York to be with us in the band because you're so good. And now it's just interesting, that now I perform many times in New York, and I always remember him being like, you're gonna go to New York with me, and I'm like, well, I'm in New York already, but where is he? Yeah. So, but I didn't really keep contact with him, so I don't know what's happened with him, but I think he's like one of the most memorable teachers that I've had. And apparently he was like very good friends with my dad. I just never knew about it. So until later, like many years later.
Sounds like a really good teacher. And with like this world of percussion that you've been in, what is your favorite instrument to play?
In percussion?
Mm-hmm.
The cajon. It's a percussion. It's a drum that you sit on. I think you've seen them.
Yeah,
You sit on them, and then you hit it's all wood, and then you hit the front, right? That, like, I think like 10 years ago, nobody knew what that was. That was like some weird thing from Peru. And since it became popular, now everybody has one. You know, it's just like, I think it's great because now it's easy to get some, and also to teach people how to play it.
What are a few who are your inspirations for music?
I mean, more than artists, I think is more music. It will be world music, which is basically traditional music from many parts of the world, many different countries. And I just really like the essence that all this music has, you know, how it makes you feel, and how it has survived for hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, without anybody writing it down, you know. And it basically, you know, passed the test of time.
You checked out your YouTube channel. I saw that like you had this like kind of ongoing series where you played the harp for like relaxation for others, and you mentioned that it's just music is just something you get lost in. Is that something you do for your like own relaxation as well?
I don't do it purposely for my relaxation. I meditate. I mean, I'm relaxed most of the time, so it's not hard for me to be relaxed. But I definitely have learned to use meditation as a form of just having inner peace. And this is not just, you know, your typical just sit down and, you know, close your mind and just no thoughts should be in your mind. It's really the opposite. It's meditating while you're doing your everyday activities, like when you're walking, when you're eating, when you're cooking, when you're playing some instrument, whatever, you know, when you're doing your natural regular life. How to create that moment of meditation where you're really focusing on what you're doing, but you're not really worried about it too much. I don't know if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been practicing, and I keep practicing that way of living. And so performing is basically just or playing music in general. It's just me, you know, having fun with what I know how to do. And you know, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was telling me how it could be useful to other people in something like YouTube. You know, like a lot of people were telling me that they really like those sessions while they were doing yoga or while they were just doing house chores and just listening to the music in the background. And if that helps to them to relax, that's great. And that's why I sort of did it. And then it kind of just like, I did it for the amount of time, and it kind of just stopped feeling right. So I just kind of just stopped doing it. So I kind of do things in that way. I follow my intuition on things, and it has definitely worked very well because many things that I enjoy in life and that have helped me to get to where I am, they have come to my life alone without me pursuing them too hard. And that's because my mentality is the less you worry about the less you worry about things not working out, the more chances they will work out.
We see that you have a lot of collaborations with different kinds of artists in your YouTube channel. Who's your favorite artist to collaborate and why?
That's a tricky question because you can't really choose one when you're collaborating, right? No, I think like I was saying earlier, I like to take opportunities, and many opportunities have come randomly in my life. Like I have I've had these collaborations with Baroque musicians this past year. I think these past 2 years have been very oriented to Baroque. For some reason, they thought it was interesting. It was a good thing to include me in it. And I like Baroque music, so I was like, well, why not? I don't know what I'm gonna do, but they will tell me because obviously they're looking for me for a reason, right? And I jumped in. I basically blind from without knowing what was going to happen, and at the end, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience, as well as a very good contact to keep on doing these projects. And so just like that, many other projects have come along, and I've enjoyed all of them really. So I wouldn't be able to say which one is my favorite per se.
How was winning not one, not two, but 3 Chicago Music Awards with your group Sonidos de Mexico?
Well, it's anytime, every time that you win an award, it basically just says, giving you the honor of saying, hey, you think you deserve this award. Not so much that you're the best, because I don't think in music anybody is the best of anything. Any art, there's no best, because it's all a matter of perspective. It's a matter of preference. I mean, I could be playing this music and maybe somebody tells me, oh, that's ugly music, because they don't like that music. It doesn't mean that I'm bad at it. It just means that person specifically didn't like it. So I wouldn't say that we're like that giving an award to somebody that means that they are the best. It's just that people in that community appreciate, but also believe that you deserve an extra award, extra show of love, I guess, to get you to do more of it. So when we got the first one, it was very surprising because we never won anything before as an award. I mean, we got nominated, but we didn't win them. We were against, we were competing against the top names in Mexico and then the top names in all of the world. So it was kind of difficult. Since we are more like a cultural band, Sonidos de Mexico is more cultural. It's not really commercial. For example, we were competing against Vicente Fernandez, which is like all commercial. And it's like, how do you compete against Vicente Fernandez? But it was really cool because it was the first time that anybody in the Grammys had given any nominations to traditional music from Mexico ever. And so us being that group, it was really definitely an honor. And the same thing with the awards from the Chicago Music Awards. It's never been before that a Mexican traditional music band had won, and winning 3 was awesome.
Would you ever want to direct your own music videos to your compositions?
The actual video, I think I've always been a big promoter of like collaborations. You can definitely see that from my YouTube channel, like you are saying. Like everybody has a skill, right? Everybody has a gift, and so if somebody's really good at video, I would want them to figure the video part, and me focus on the music part. I think I've had some music being performed by different groups, and it always feels really nice when you can hear your music live, and then these people playing it. Yeah. It's definitely a different feel than you hearing it with like electronic MIDI sounds. It pretty much sounds the same. It's the same notes. It's everything in tune, but just being able to feel it live, it adds that energy part that you don't get from like a computer or from a CD player, from an iPad, whatever you use to hear your music. So I don't know if I would. I think I would just like be honored that somebody wants to do a music video. Or if I want to do the music video, I would just basically just give everybody their part, and then just kind of trust them that they're going to do their best.
So you have a lot of collaborations on your YouTube channel, and you even post them on your Facebook. Like, how would you contrast the environment of playing and performing with them in the Chicago Blues with Billy Branch and your close friend Makoto
Makoto.
Yeah, Makoto in Tokyo.
I mean, they're both basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're collaborations of music that is ancestral. So that's why I was saying, like, that's why I love music, like traditional music from the world, from different traditions, because even though they're so different, like how they sound and the instruments they use, many times they're very different. They all have that strong essence in them. They all have that. You hear it and then it makes you move. Something inside of you and outside of you will move because of this music. And so that is what really brings those styles of music together, and it's very easy to bring them together. And for example, with Billy Branch, blues is very similar to many styles of Mexican music, like for example, Cucurucucu Paloma.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know that one? It's like very heartfelt, very like I feel this way, and I'm gonna sing my heart out, or gonna play my heart out doing this music. Same thing with the blues. The blues is about, just expressing that feeling. And then with Makoto, I mean, Makoto, it's he fell in love with Jarocho music, and then he created his own Jarocho group in Tokyo, and then he brought them to Tlacotalpan, which is in Veracruz, to the Encuentro de Jaraneros, which is a worldwide event that hosts all the groups, all the best groups of son jarocho in the world now. Before it was just Veracruz, and then we just come in. But now, since son jarocho has expanded worldwide, now a lot of people from all over the world come to the festival. And it's in a small town in the middle of, basically nowhere. You have to go through a lot of things. Now it's easier because they have invested some money on the roads and in getting there, and now there are hotels. Back in the day, there was not even hotels there. But now everybody goes there, and now Makoto brought his group, I think it was 2 years ago, and they perform there, and they were very, they were welcome, and they learned a lot. And then people also learn from them, and they're very passionate about it. So me going over there to Tokyo, they invited me to come and do some workshops, and it was really interesting because it was even though they speak Spanish, but even though we come from such different cultures, we have music bring us together. And once we started playing, it was just like me playing with some friends here in Chicago, or like playing with some people over there in Tacopalpan. It was just, it's like the same experience, but with different people. So it's,
What was your favorite country to travel?
That's a question that a lot of people ask me, and it's a question that is hard for me to answer. Right now, I really like Iceland, Costa Rica, Japan, and I'm obviously Mexico. I actually have to spend more time exploring Mexico, because even though I've gone to a lot of places in Mexico, I mean, there's still so much to see. And I mean, it might be sometimes hard for me to even think about it because it's so close, you can just get there within like 3 hours, and it's not that expensive. You can just go for a weekend basically. But I chose these other places because they're all very unique. They're very unique in the world. I've gone to in more than 10 countries I visited, and they're just very unique. They just have like their own thing. Like, you're not able to see this if you don't go to that country, type of thing. And also their culture and their energy within the country is very, it's just nice, you feel comfortable, you feel at home there. So I was actually very impressed when I went to Japan and see how much more advanced their society is than many other places in the world. It's just they're just very mindful of others. They don't want to disrespect you, and it would be something so easily so simple as, for example, you go on the subway, and maybe somebody comes in with the with their plates of chicken wings. Chicken wings have a big smell, or like buffalo wings. And so that's disrespectful to everybody in that wagon, because maybe people there don't want to smell that. Maybe people that are, like, for example, I'm vegan, so I would not appreciate being able, smell that. So that to them is disrespectful. Therefore, bringing food like that in a train is it's illegal. So you can't do that. You can't eat in the train because that's disrespectful. You know what I mean? So that type of mentality, to me, it makes a lot of sense, but it doesn't really work in many other cultures. So I'm like, that's one of the things that I was saying. Like, I'm impressed by how they are.
So you mentioned being vegan. How is your process and transition to becoming vegan?
Most of my life, I've always enjoyed vegetables, especially in Mexico, because in Mexico, we grow up with a lot of vegetables in the streets. You can buy vegetables prepared in the streets throughout Mexico. Either carrots or jicama or sandia, stuff like that. Fruits too, obviously. So I kind of, you grow up with that in Mexico. It's just a normal thing. Just like you go into the store and buying some chips. I mean, that happens in Mexico too. You go to the store, to the corner, little. It's not a store, but a little shop, and you can buy some fruit, or you can buy some vegetables, or you're like going shopping, and while you're going shopping, there's somebody with a cart with a bunch of vegetables, making them, and then you just buy one. Like, I remember going to La Lagunilla, and they make you like this bags of vegetables, and they're like literally like huge, like the size of your head, how much stuff there is, and then it's just delicious. So I grew up like that, but I've always loved animals. And for some reason, I never thought about where that meat in my plate came from, or really consider it. And I started learning about all these processes and the way that they're treated, and watch a lot of documentaries. And then there was this one documentary that started talking about the pollution in the world and how the major factor of pollution in this world is the meat industry.
Mhm.
You know, it's just so polluting, and it's way more polluting than burning the fossil fuels. So that's kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your burger, it's more polluting than your car. You don't think about it, but once I learned, I was like, there's no excuse anymore. I have no excuse. I just gotta stop. So I stopped, and the hardest thing to stop was cheese because it's so addictive. I'm sure you guys would, we have a hard time. I don't know if you guys are vegan, but stop eating pizza. It's kind of like one of those hard things, right? So it took me a long time, but it happened.
And so what's your favorite dish to prepare? Like, it can be like a snack or like any type of food.
Raw beets with lime, salt, and hot powder.
So it's like tajin with like chips.
No, not tajin. I don't like tajin. But
is it too salty for you?
Pretty much the same thing. Just not tajin though.
Chile
yeah,
piquin?
tajin is just chile piquin. There you go.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So we've been like a fan of your puppy corners. When like on your YouTube. So what was the name of your dog?
Well, those, I don't know if those dogs are still. I think those dogs are not with me anymore.
Oh.
But I have two other dogs. I have a new puppy. And they're like right here. You just can't see them, but they're right here. They're like sleeping. Let's see if I can. So this one, Yolcin, is new. He's how old are you? From November. So what is that? 8, 9, 10 months. So almost a year. And then there's Kanek right here. And he is 6.
Mm-hmm.
These are the two puppies that I have. And they're Cholos Quintlis. They both come from Mexico. Kanek comes from Querétaro, and then Yolcin comes from Estado de Mexico.
Oh, do you play the harp for your dogs like at least once a day or every night?
They don't really care about it. They're just like, whatever. He's busy now. Actually, sometimes I'm like, I'll be practicing, and then Kanek will come and be like, "Hey, I need some attention," and then he'll just come and like crawl between the harp and me, and just like sleep there. So it's more like, hey, you're doing something that's taking attention from me. Just include me at least on it, And when I'm performing, when I'm practicing, they'll just come and just snuggle.
Do they sing?
Do they sing?
Yeah.
Connect a little bit with the accordion, but not really. It's just kind of like, they just chill. It's just like, okay, he's doing his thing.
If you could have any other pets, what would they be? Like, they can be extinct or fictional creatures or animals.
Well, I always say that it's more a matter of like, if they are comfortable with me more than me comfortable with them. So I keep fish. I have 4 fish tanks, and I try to always get the fish from local breeders. It's kind of crazy how many people, actually make it a hobby that they can get some money from in their homes, and then they have, they grow these fish that are like tropical and really hard to keep up, and they have all this huge, like for example, their whole basement or their whole garage is just like focus on keeping the fish, and there's like walls of different fish tanks. I've gone to them. That's why I can see them, and so it's like that's the best way to get any animal from, you know, from somebody that is responsible at breeding them.
Mhm.
You know, the bad thing is not so much having animals or eating animals. You know, it's more like how do you get them? Do you take them away from their natural habitat, or do you actually just grow them and then that's their life, you know, fish tank? And so that, and then I have a lot of plants home everywhere. So I don't know. I used to have parrots, but that's it's very sad story with the ferrets, because they're not responsibly bred, so they get a lot of cancer. So I stopped keeping them. So really, just anything that I think a raccoon would be very interesting, but you have to have the raccoon in its own house, because they are very curious and they don't care. They don't care if it's like your favorite sofa or your favorite cabinet or whatever. They're just gonna get into it.
Or your favorite instrument.
Or your harp, like there was like more holes in the harp or something like that. Yeah, so that's more like somebody that is like making their whole life just for raccoons. I have this guy. I found this guy on YouTube that does all these videos with his pets. So he has 2 raccoons, and that's literally what he did. He bought a new house so that he could have his raccoons, and he like made them a whole room so they could just stay there. But they're like, you know, they go everywhere, but then, you know, he knows that maybe he'll find some hole somewhere because of it. So,
have you ever experienced a paranormal moment? Have you ever like spotted a UFO?
Paranormal. I'm actually trying to do some paranormal stuff, but I haven't been able to. I think.
Oh no, you can go. Sorry.
I think an issue with me is I'm very logical. Like it's like I focus on my mind of analyzing things and interpreting things. So that's hard when that doesn't help when you're trying to, you know, connect with things that are out of the normal, because you kind of just like try to bring them back to normal and make sense of them. So I'm trying to get away from that and trying to do some out-of-body experiences, but it's been difficult because of the same thing.
Oh, what was a hiccup moment that you had during, before, or after a performance? Like a little mess up.
Oh, there's tons and tons. Yeah, I mean, when you're performing, there's tons of things that go wrong, but either you stop and just contemplate on how horrible that was, or just keep going and just be like, well, whatever, you know. I mean, that's something that happens all the time. I'm sure that a lot of musicians can say the same thing, even if they don't admit it, but you know, it happens. I think one of the most traumatic hiccups that I had was when I was in college. And it wasn't even a big deal, but so I had to do my piano recital. I'm not a piano player, but you have to take some piano lessons, and you have to give a recital afterwards at the end of the year. And I was doing this piece by, I'm not sure if it was, I think it was Bach. It was Bach or Chopin. I don't remember which one. I think it was Bach. And I was doing the piece, and everybody knows the piece. And that's one of the most stressful things to do, to play something that everybody knows, because everybody knows which notes go right after the other, right? Mm-hmm. And if you mess up, everybody notices. so I didn't mess up in the middle. And then I just kind of like freaked out and then stopped, which you should never do, even if everybody knows it. And then I stopped and then just kind of took a breath, and then just continued. But it was really traumatic because it was just like, I can't believe I just messed up. I've been practicing for hours and hours, and it was perfect, and then just messed it up. And everybody else in the recital were perfect, and they were performing way harder things than me. But with the years, you learn to just not care so much about it, because I mean, it's how long is that? Like, doesn't really matter. So every other performance after that, after I learned that it wasn't really a big deal to have mistakes, it was much more relaxed. There's this quote by Beethoven. He says something along the lines that, a mistake, one wrong note is nothing, but performing without passion, it's the worst thing you can do.
Is there any weird food that your family has fed you because you're vegan?
Well, my family doesn't feed me anything because I'm my own family. So actually, I'm feeding my dogs vegan stuff.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Kaneko's been eating vegan food for the past 4 years, and he's doing so well. He looks great. He has kept his weight perfect, like not too much weight, not too little. He's doing very well with it. Yolcin hasn't done well with it, so we had to change his diet to a veterinarian diet. First, because he got sick when he was a puppy.
Oh.
And his stomach is kind of like very sensitive because of that. So he has to eat this special food from the veterinarian. So I wasn't able to keep the vegan food for him. But I mean, even though he wasn't doing well with it, in the sense of like, he was having a lot of bad stool, but he grew he grew well. He gained weight. He was very sick. He was very thin. And when I started feeding him the vegan food, he just he bulked up. He got muscles. And then I had to change the diet because of it's not a good thing to have diarrhea every day. So we had to change it. But yeah, I mean, the one thing that I remember that I didn't like when I was a kid that my mom and my grandma fed me was cooked spinach.
Oh yeah.
That's horrible.
It's like amargo. Yeah, it's so bad.
It's just weird.
Yeah.
I like spinach, but only when they're like raw.
Raw, yeah.
Good. But yeah, cooked spinach now.
So for the people who want to know more about your music, where can they find you?
Well, I have my website, zacbepichardo.com, and also, like you guys have been talking about, I have that YouTube channel, which there's a lot of videos, different kinds of videos there. Also do a lot of, mainly I'm most active in Facebook. I have my artist page, but I also use my personal page for music. So those are the main things that you can find me at. I have my Instagram, but also my Instagram is not really musical. It's public, but it's not per se musical. So basically just YouTube and my website, YouTube, and Facebook.
Remember, we are at La Mesita, and we had the honor to talk with Zacbe Pichardo from Sones de Mexico. Thank you so much, Zacbe.
Thank you guys for doing this and for your awesome questions.
You can soon see this interview on our YouTube channel. You can follow our social media at Yollocalli on Instagram and Facebook.
My name is Tona.
And my name is Yo.
And we hope you have a good day.
See you next time.